This meeting is now recording and we are live streaming on Facebook.
Good evening, everyone. We could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. There is just we've got some feedback coming. Just bear with us for 1 second. We've changed locations. I don't think so.
Yeah, you're muted.
Okay.
You know what I want? Your sound is off.
Yeah, audio sounds good on my end.
We're just getting a little feedback on our end. Okay, perfect. There is a change to the agenda. If the board would like to weigh in for an executive session for the matter regarding adding that for the discussion of property. And I should note that Mrs. Ray is excused this evening. So if we would like an exec for property, we can certainly do that. Yes, we would need a motion to.
Okay,
Yes.
motion by Sue, second by Dale. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. All right, so we need a motion to approve the amended agenda. Need a motion by Carrie, second by Barb. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. Okay, so next on the agenda are recognitions and presentations, and we have a presentation for esports.
Thank you. While we're getting set up, while Mrs. Brown is pulling that up, I would like to thank the faculty and staff for working with our students to begin this journey of Salamanca Warrior Esports. And when they're ready, we'll turn it over to the faculty and students from the high school.
If we can unmute Kim Dry and Aaron Strauss, and Kim is going to carry us forward.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you and good evening. And thank you for this opportunity as always to, present something, new and upcoming, and we're always ahead of the curve. And I do need to say thank you to the board and to the administration for always letting this happen. It's pretty amazing that these kids have this opportunity so far ahead of the game. And we've come a long ways from the 1972 Atari Pong days. That was my gig. Yeah, and that was about it. But we're excited about this endeavor. Although I do need, you'll see as you go through the presentation that there is a lot to it. As you can tell, you'll see that these kids have put in a lot of effort, and there's a lot of factors and platforms and behind the scenes thing that you need to know. And we also have a special guest here in a second. Before I get going any further, I would like to introduce our officers. So Aaron, if you, yeah. So I will have Elia talk really quick about why we have different pseudonames for our officers. If you don't mind, if we can unmute Elia for a second. All right, she might not be here. Well, I will keep going until I hear from her, but our officer, our president, our officer that has no clue, and these might sound derogatory, but that is kind of a thing for esports, and the students pick up their own pseudonyms for their officership. Jerry Strang is our president. Our vice president is Quentin Jones, and he is the officer that has some clue. Our officer that has all the clues would be Lauren John, aka the clue holder, secretary. And if we want to go to the next slide, please. Okay, we also have Stonks, the treasurer, and that is Jordan Buskey, officer that is good with whatever. That is our marketing person, and that is Laya Lee, and she will be here. Also the Hackerman, the IT legends, that would be Connor Clute and Cole Johnson. And the clerk of the works, our education guys, are Keegan Hardy and Xavier Peters. And you're going to be hearing from all of them during this presentation, so I won't say too much more about them, but is Elia here yet? I don't think so, but just as I mentioned, this is kind of a typical thing in the esports arena where you get to make up funny names for your officers. So next, I do need to give a shout out. Next slide, please. I need to give a shout out to our advisors, and I'm not talking about myself there. Take that picture down. I'm talking about Aaron Strauss and Justin Shep. These guys are amazing to work with. They pay so much attention to the detail. And without these guys and the original IT legends, Scott Collins and Jake Healy, who help us work and navigate through all of the technical issues that we have. Without these guys, this wouldn't happen, aside from the passion we have for our kids. And so I just want to thank them for always, like, they work so hard behind the scenes, and it doesn't seem, you'll see what they have to do once we get through this presentation. So before I go there with the students, we do have a special guest here tonight. That would be, I want to introduce you to Nolan Edwards, who is an alumni, and he may be the initial catalyst for this kind of endeavor. A few years ago, or a couple of years ago, we had him come into our business classes to talk about professional gaming as a career, and that he stirred up such a crazy buzz that it just hung on there, and then our advisors kind of took off with it and just kind of went crazy with it, and everybody paid attention and allowed us to do so. So I just want to give you a little background about Nolan. He has been in the game, a professional gamer, since 2018. He is also he's also a captain and an in-game leader for his positions that he's been in, and he's been touring forever. So he's gone coast to coast. He's been gaming and competing and advocating for esports for a while. He spent time in South Korea in 2020, and then was on his way to China and Europe, and then COVID hit. So what I'm going to do is actually going to let him pick up from there and talk a little bit more about esports and some other factors that he would like to talk to you about. So I think we need to unmute Nolan.
Yep, all good. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to quickly introduce myself, share a bit of my experience with esports, and then I'll pass it back to the rest of these young professionals. My name is Nolan Edwards. My in-game tag is Paintbrush, and I graduated from Salamanca in 2014. I attended Jamestown Community College, where I received my Associates of Science in Computer Science with honors. And during my time at Jamestown Community College, I worked full-time as a web developer. I had an IT internship at Social Services in Cat County, and I had a programming internship at Cutco. Upon completion of my Associates of Science, I was accepted into the University of Buffalo's School of Engineering and Applied Sciences to obtain my BS in Computer Science. And I only say this because I want you to know that I was on track to graduate and become a software engineer, just as I had always planned, until I received an extremely unique opportunity. So during my senior year, I received an offer to move to California and compete in Overwatch full-time. It was a risk, but I knew deep in my heart that it was something that I just could not pass up. So one of the beautiful things about the industry today is that this risk that I took is now substantially lower. So there's an increasing number of collegiate scholarships being created across universities, throughout universities across the US. A few that I've recently been in talks with as I look to return to school to complete my bachelor's degree, as I did withdraw my senior year. So it's very realistic for a lot of these talented young individuals to obtain full ride scholarships or any substantial amount of money to attend university and chase their education while also partaking in the esports. So due to the diversity in esports, I was exposed to a number of cultures and individuals from all walks of life. Honestly, once you're in game, everyone is equal. You're all playing on the same board with the same set of rules, and something as big as language barriers honestly breaks down once you learn the universal language of gaming. So my teammates in the past have came from all around the globe, including South Korea, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, England, and Vietnam. And these are all people that I grew extremely close with. So they're people that I can proudly say that I shared a key part of my life with. We woke up every day with the same goal to be the best. We ate breakfast, lunch, dinner together. We fought, we struggled, but most importantly, we grew as a team. These past few years have been some of the most stressful years of my life. And honestly, they've also been the most rewarding. These are relationships that I will always hold dear to my heart. So in everything that I've said thus far, there are countless lessons to learn both inside and outside of the game. There's chase your esports dream alongside of your education, which is honestly one I wish I knew was an option before I withdrew from university. Keep an open mind, the importance of teamwork and communication, stay true to yourself, and so much more. And if I'm being honest with myself, my time at Salamanca is the crucial step that laid the groundwork for my own growth within the industry. I'm extremely jealous of the program that's being developed today. It is now my goal to share my experience and lessons that I've learned along the way, as well as the lessons that I will continue to learn. Before I hand this over to these young visionaries, I want to say this. Esports is a very real industry. It isn't just about being a player like I am. There are career opportunities in esports that utilize every skill or degree that you can imagine. And if you name a degree, I guarantee you we can find a way to incorporate it into esports. The community is filled with creative minds, critical thinkers, problem solvers, people of passion, believers, and more. It is a young industry, and we're at the forefront of its growth. With that said, I am proud of what is being done here today. I'll now go ahead and pass it over to Jerry Strang to give you all more insight into esports as a whole.
So I don't believe Jerry is on the Zoom right now.
Can someone unmute?
Yes,
Kim?
yeah, I just need to finish up. So Jerry is not here. I apologize for that. So all across the US, the esports has gone varsity. So, and as Nolan just said, it goes a long ways. It is growing and growing and growing. And so it has a local, regional, and national competition and increases as college recruitment tool. So there, many schools right now are adopting this as a major. College scholarships are in esports are huge right now. And it's recruiting just like you would recruit as an actual, as a sports player as we know it right now. Plus we will be discussing, sorry about that. We'll go back. Yeah. Plus, we'll be discussing many career opportunities in a little bit. So esports this was a great quote by Coach Bartosik, who said esports is a great equalizer, as no factors exist other than the ability to play. So, and that is a huge opportunity for many students. Okay, and I do need to add that Nolan was in my business classes, and yes, I could tell you where he sat, and I always say, Nolan, do you have your work done? And and very often he would try to flip his screen as fast as he could, and I caught him playing games. And so this is the one time that it has paid off. Do have to say that. Okay, so esports is leveling up students according to the National Association for Collegiate Esports. Over 175 colleges and universities around the United States are offering esports scholarships. That is humongous and growing. Okay, I would like to now pass it off to Lauren John, who would like to talk to you about what esports is.
Hello.
Hello.
Esports often takes the form of organized multiplayer video game competitions, particularly between professional players, individually or as teams. The following items represent what it takes to organize an esports varsity team. Determine team eligibility, define team responsibilities, apply game requirements, approve organization charter, craft mission, vision, and values, adhere to the code of conduct, develop toolkits for players and coaches, identify competition spaces, and always learning curriculum and workshops, promote marketing and socializing, host and attend esports events.
Next.
I think that one is Lauren John too.
Yep. This is you, Lauren.
Salamanca High School esports team has 30 members and growing and has something for each student. Teams play on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, VR, and many other media. Currently, players can compete in scrimmage in Rocket League, Overwatch, League of Legends, Minecraft, and more. We will host internal Salamanca High School competitions that include scholastic events, speedruns, tournaments, and skill sets. Esports connects with other sports: football, bowling, lacrosse, tennis, golf, etc.
Okay. Next, we will hear from Quentin Jones, who would like to talk to you about esports is focused on learning and how it is.
Hello, esports is focused on learning. Advisors, coaches, and students are helping students in the areas of technology, tournament setup, perfecting gameplay, strategizing, conflict resolution, working as a team, competition, learning from failure and trying again, and communication. Esports is for every student, and just keep working your way till you get to the goals you want to reach.
So one of the critical components that we wanted to, in my heart, is an instructional coach of STEAM here and STEAM camp coordinator, is to always have a workforce real world tie into whatever program we're running in the school. So one of the things that we looked at is, can we start training the students for something that's tied into the program of esports? And what we came up with was to train them how to do IT. So the kids, we actually got a non-monetary grant worth about $2,500 for an interactive distance learning simulator and test prep subscription that will prepare the students from everything from taking apart and repairing and reassembling a desktop computer. And if they choose to move on to things as complicated as putting together and programming switches in for a network. Our hope and end goal is that students will enjoy playing esports, but also come out with some real workforce skills. We are also right now currently pursuing avenues of funding, private funding for desktop computer build. So the previous one I mentioned that prepares them to take the CompTIA Plus certified exam and the Network Plus exam. That's all 100% simulated. They go into the simulator, they take apart the components, they reassemble them. But we want to eventually bring in the funding that can allow them to actually get a home desktop computer built kit. This will allow, well, let me start from the beginning. Most, if not all, of our students are involved in one of our STEAM programs: drones, GIS, robotics, engineering, technology, graphics design. And so by having a home computer built kit, they will be able to use the computer they build for gaming to also run the memory heavy apps that they use in these programs. And I think if anything, COVID's woken us up to the fact that students need sport at home, and providing our students that are in our STEM programs with a more robust system that's tied to the esports program will allow them to use some of the apps that are usually they're not able to be run on the laptop computers at this time, but are able to be run on our building computers that are designed specifically for that at home. So be great for esports practice. They're completely assembling and creating these home desktop computers, so it works on their IT workforce skills. And like I mentioned before, they can use it to run the distance learning software required for drones and GIS and robotics that there normally would be facilitated in school, but right now currently are hybrid or distance learning, or could go back to hybrid depending on what happens with the pandemic.
Now we need to turn it over to Senior Connor Clute, who would like to talk to you about competition responsibility.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay. So, hi, hello, my name's Connor Clute. I am one of our IT legends, aka Peckerman. And kind of going off what Aaron Strauss just said, with you making computers and whatnot, we would actually, for at least esports, we would take those and use them to go with competition. Now, there's a lot of responsibility when it comes to performing in a competition setting. And one of those things, major things that just needs to be upheld is a code of conduct. As with all things in school and just in life, the code of conduct just kind of keeps everyone on playing field without harming anybody. And another one is we just need to be able to prepare remote or on-campus spaces, making sure it is all updated, maintaining the computer's actual integrity, and creating a network, making sure your network is all up and running, and just maintaining a space where you can physically play with or away from others. And that's just because of the pandemic current situation. And what we would do on our end, as far as competition wise, we want to be able to hold at least 1-2 hour practice per week, while also talking with our virtual coaches and general managers at least once. We would typically like to do that a lot more. And something that we want to have in the future is players participate in coaching clinics. So they will go in and learn how to coach younger players to play at a higher level. And I'm going to turn it over to the other IT legend, Cole Johnson, to tell you all about what esports really is and just kind of a one-on-one overview of it.
Hi, I'm Cole Johnson. I'm the other IT legend. And I just want to say that there's a lot to esports, right? So more than just what we've already mentioned, there is review, that students will do to improve their gameplay. There are people that are managing streams. You'll see that in the future here, I think. There's journals that we have to keep. There's videos that we'll be making. We'll probably be making a website. And as Aaron Strauss said, the computer building aspect of this will be extremely important. We'll be building competition teams, participating in esports workshops and coaching clinics. We'll be working on our stats and records. We'll be holding meetings almost weekly, sometimes multiple times a week. And most importantly, we're going to be training. So I'd like to now turn it over to our next presenter here. The officer that is good with whatever, Alaya Lee.
Hi, I'm Alaya Lee, and I do the marketing side, which is the officer, which is good for whatever. And that includes where you can find us. For our own things, where we have most of our stuff set up now is an app called Discord. Discord is an app that is made especially for gaming communities and teams. It's where we organize everything, talk to each other when we're in game, and set up events for our own stuff like scrimmages. And then on the other side of things, where you can find us is on our Twitch. Twitch is a streaming service website where we can put up our gameplay and different clips of what we're doing. So you can see how good we are, exactly what games we're playing, and other stuff like that. And there are several reasons why students are involved. And here are some quotes from some students, which includes Keegan saying, personally for him, it's fun and not hard on his schedule. It's easy to fit in and it's pretty good at keeping up with. It makes a busy day fun. And we also have people who like Quentin, who have been playing for a long time competitively. So it just fits right in.
Okay, this would be Xavier Peters. I actually didn't see Xavier on here yet. But, oh, sorry. Let's say, so he was here to talk to you about the, he's a clerk of the works officer for education. So Keegan and Xavier would be really crucial into helping us come up with, they're going to be crucial in helping us come up with the educational pieces to the gaming. And they actually took this position on purpose. So they would be, you know, talking, they would probably do class presentations, they would do public speaking, they would work with other departments. Today you can travel the universe, tomorrow we can encounter the multiverse. And esports is about inclusion. It also allows every student to participate regardless of your ability, transforming students by immersing them in places they have never experienced. So it's a leveling piece for a lot of students to get out and experience life. Okay, now Keegan is here. He's the other clerk of the works for education, and Keegan would like to talk to you about the potential competitions.
So for our potential competitions with BOCES, we can be competing with Rocket League by the 21st of 2021. When our esports wins, we will be leveling up and be expected to compete in a national level event. Our team will be able to compete against local schools, but also would eventually level up to maybe people from across the state, to people in other states, to possibly even people across the whole world. And if we win at the national level, that's a pretty good thing because it gets us a ton of recognition. And our Rocket League team is pretty good. And as you will see from the next slide.
And these are actually our team, I think, playing in a little scrimmage. Mr. Strauss, are you going to click that? So while he's getting that ready, I do want to say we do have little mini scrimmages all the time. And like I said, when we're waiting that, oh, Mr. Strauss is muted, so he needs to be unmuted. But we practice a lot and we scrimmage a lot. And every time we have a meeting first, like a Zoom meeting, and then we'll all get onto a tournament that Keegan or somebody or Quentin sets up. And by the time I get downstairs and grab the remote out of Kyla's hand, I'm put in the waiting room for the entire time. So that's okay. But are you ready, Mr. Strauss?
That's okay. Unfortunately, we were having a bandwidth issue downloading the PowerPoint and putting the video in. So I wasn't able to get the video in here after all, but our game Rocket League works a lot like soccer, except instead of humans kicking a ball around, it's these giant monster trucks. And the monster trucks have rockets on them, and that's why they call it Rocket League. They kind of jump in the air. I'm not personally very good at this game, but our kids are amazing. They do some really nice tricks, and they really are good at teamwork. And hopefully we'll show on social media very soon a quick clip of them doing their feats. But I I believe I speak for the rest of the coaches that I think that our students are going to go far in this league when they compete, and we're very excited to see them do that.
Okay, now we, Keegan would like to kind of finish up here. Go ahead.
So even though it was originally something even before, like even after college, it has slowly been moving down up to which today it's even at the varsity level. And yeah, like it says, everybody can join. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter if you're tall or short or small or wide. It doesn't matter.
Awesome. Also, I'd like to point out, sorry, I'd just like to point out real quick, or Keegan, you just go ahead.
So does anyone have any questions?
And while you're thinking about those questions, I do want to point out that Alaya Lee made this graphic too. So again, she's the marketer, the person who's good with whatever marketing.
So this is Mr. Bridenstine. Thank you to the students and the faculty for putting this together. And if you can send us the video, then we'll make sure that we actually get that to the board members so they can actually see one of the scrimmages from the kids competing and practicing. And thank you for your presentation.
Okay.
Any questions from anyone?
Aaron, do we have
I would just like to extend a special thank you to Nolan. I had the opportunity to hear you when you were here in Salamanca, and Mrs. Dry said, I think she texted me or ran into the office and said, hey, you've got to see this, come on down, this is real. And I'll tell you what, that was one of those moments when I listened to you and came to the sudden realization that, as you said, esports is real. It's like an actual career, and there are many careers within esports. And, I guess that was one of those points also where I realized that, okay, I'm a lot older than I think I am, because I didn't get it. And if it wasn't for you actually saying that and sharing your experiences, I don't think I would have had the buy-in that we did. And it was really it really changed my perspective on things. And I really appreciate the time that you're dedicating to our team and to your alma mater. So I just wanted to extend a thank you.
Cool. Aaron, one more presentation or one more slide? So Jerry's not here, but we just want to, once again, and this can't be said enough, that we need to say thank you for always believing in us and listening to us, and for all of the amazing opportunities that you allow us to run with. That we're thankful to you, the high school, the community, the Board of Education, principals, administration, Mr. Sieber, really just honestly thank you, because these kids are super excited. And
This is Justin. Before we leave, there was a conversation before we started this presentation, and I believe Principal Siebert challenged the students to Rocket League. And so my question is, I want to get that on the record. Principal Siebert is going to be challenging. We'll put that video to the school board as well.
And this is Meg. I just wanted to say thank you to our staff and faculty who have worked with the students on this. And thank you to the students as well. It was a good presentation. And I know there's a lot of you involved who couldn't be here today, but you put in a lot of hard work on this. And to Nolan, thank you so much. And you'll be happy to know that at the most recent Jamestown Community College Board of Trustees meeting, JCC is considering moving forward with esports as well, which is good for us, but then also as another one of your alma maters, that's positive progress in terms of esports.
Awesome.
Hey, this is Carrie. I wanted to say thank you to Justin, especially. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, he was in front of us as a board, bringing this idea to us. And I'm really excited to see this actually come to fruition. I did have a question though. Reading the narrative, I was just curious, we are classifying this as a sport, correct? And are students going to see any benefit out of this year as in terms of career paths or college opportunities?
I can speak for myself. We have a plan. In March, we do actually have a real competition, but again, getting the notoriety of being, in the front end of this whole new endeavor, I'm sure that other colleges are going to be coming down. We will reach out to other colleges to come and check out what we're doing, which is always awesome to take advantage of the marketing that we have here. We're always ahead of the game, but to the benefit to here, we are working with BOCES. We go through BOCES and we are ahead of the game in comparison to the other schools. I hate to brag like that, but we are.
Let's
and that
brag.
that has a lot to do with, Aaron and Justin being very detail oriented, and that's great. And
Let me just can I just interject, Ms. Stry? We got an email today and it says that the state is moving forward. There's going to be a state title in Rocket League. And we're going to be in the regional tournament, and not only going to win the regional tournament, we're going to win the state title. I'm guaranteeing that. We have some of the best players around by far, and Superintendent Breinstein has given us a full faith and credit to win this title.
Yeah, and the grant that I mentioned earlier with the A+ certification and Network Plus certification, that's effective as of last week. So we're working with the clerks of the work to begin training on that, and then they'll be helping their peers go through that software to prepare even our seniors this year to start developing those IT skills.
Awesome, guys.
Look forward to the eSport swag coming soon to a gifts store and bookstore soon, so that we can brand this team as we have done really successfully with our elementary schools, our high schools, our athletic teams, our intermediate schools, our music program. The art of self-promotion and celebrating the successes that we have for all students of all levels and all interests that they have is really something that's quite well aligned with our strategic plan. And as someone who grew up in the first version video games of Pong, we've come a long way. It's far exceeding my abilities. I'm not sure I can compete or hold a candle to any of the students in this category, but I can certainly be there in the fans with the poster and pom-poms screaming and yelling my head off when we allow that. So I think this is an outstanding move for the kids. for the district, and it aligns quite well with what we're trying to do in re-imaging our district as a STEAM district of excellence, as well as a district focused on critical thinking and skills. So thank you to the students, and please give a shout out to your parents who've probably nagged you a little bit more than maybe they understand the full market value of what a professional gamer can do in terms of income. I understand it's quite lucrative. So congratulations. And again, thank you. And thank you to Nolan for joining us.
Thank you, Bob.
All right. Next on the agenda, we
Oh,
have.
excuse me, babe, hold on.
Yeah.
So I just want to be clear. With this budget narrative, are we funding this right now? Or is this part of a proposal to fund this for next year? What are we doing?
Yeah, it's in the budget now.
We're funding already?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Good answer, Karen.
No, you're not, because next we have our budget presentation. So,
While Karen's getting set up, the bigger question, Mr. John, may be, do we have enough funding to support the number of students that will start in this program? And we'll take a look at that and make sure we have the adequate resources to do that.
What do you need?
Yeah.
it's just it's the Marcy Brown one. That's not Marcy Brown.
I mean, the settings are set so that you can share your screen from the RT.
Okay, just ignore Marcy. All right, so can you, can somebody tell me, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, good. All right, so obviously last month we did admin, facility, and transportation. This month we're on instructional. And next time, in 2 weeks, we'll do an update on the entire budget and also adopt the tax levy. So what do we know for now? We know that we have 5 teachers and 4 TAs have submitted their resignations, and also 1 custodian. So we'll be losing 10 of our staff members at the end of the year. They'll be going on to happier pastures, I guess. And we have a request for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 positions, as well as 4 monitors, 4 bus drivers, and a groundskeeper for Vets Park. So we have all those new positions that are being requested at this point in time. We have not said absolutely yes to any of these at this point. We're still going through and reviewing budgets. But this is what we're looking at as far as 10 leaving. And then these are all new positions. So what don't we know? We still don't know any requirements for the CARES Act Part 2. We don't know if there's going to be any restrictions to it or not. And any potential cuts from the legislative action. We don't know what legislators are going to do. You know, are they going to give us more money? Are they going to reduce it? And as everybody knows, who knows what the heck's happening with COVID. Maybe we'll go back to completely virtual, and maybe we'll be back without these little fun things, or who knows, you know, what we're going to do between now and next week, even maybe even tomorrow in some cases. So first look at instructional. We got curriculum development. I'm just going to do the variance on this side because I think this is the most important. Is that a slight increase of 2.1%. Supervision in regular schools goes down about 10. In-service programs is really a training, all the professional development, and that's going up quite a bit, as you can see. Teaching regular schools, that's the majority of the instructional staff. That's going up by 8.6. Students with disabilities up 6.5. Occupational ed, that's the CTE programs for 4.3. Special schools, which is Warrior Academy and all the after school programming and summer school programming is going up by 33%. Library is down 26 due to some staffing changes. What's going on? Stop it. It's like squirrel. Now I don't know what I'm doing. Computer assisted programs, minus 16, and that's because of some of the major purchases at BOCES that we did this year for additional computers and stuff to make sure that every student had a machine and things like that. So we're not as high next year. Attendance, we didn't fill a position. Guidance salaries, there's some retirements in there, so there's some dollar changes. Health services plus 24, that's because of additional LPN and additional costs for the school doctor costs. Psychology is down a little bit, and I can't remember why that one is. Social work is up just a tad, and here's the giant one. Family support workers. Right now, the reason that's up so much is we're anticipating or have proposed to add 5 additional support workers for students who are non-native. So that way all students would have that same process of basically kind of advocacy for the student between the school and the parents and all that kind of thing, just to help the students move along better through school. And co-curriculars, slight increase. Athletics, a slight decrease. $100,000 in for community recreation, and what that is the playground for Vets Park, which again would be a community build, but we'd be able to purchase the equipment. And interfund transfer, that's really for summer school for students with disabilities, because they didn't really have a whole lot going on last year because of the whole COVID thing. We're hoping that things are going to go back to almost normal this summer. So I've increased that because that'll include not only their costs for their tuition at the various schools, but also for transportation. And
And can I ask a question first?
sure, that's what that's for.
Oh, hey, perfect.
There we go.
The in-service programs, you said a lot of it was professional development.
Yep.
I am just curious, why such a big increase?
Well, that's a good question. 3 things are major increases. One is the continuation of the strategic plan is in there, and that's around $106,000 for the next step.
Is that with that elements?
So it's, yep.
Oh, okay.
Then there's $100,000 in there for diversity training for the entire district.
Okay.
And then there's an additional $35,000 in there for equity diversity training for students.
Okay.
For the student summit.
Okay.
So that's the
right.
majority of it.
Thanks.
So
with all the instructions that the students had this year through the computer rather than face-to-face with their teacher, has their grades come down at all? That there is a possibility that maybe summer school will be more active this year than most years?
that's not a question I can answer. Because I take care of numbers, not students. So I will elect Mr. Bridenstine to answer.
That's a great question, and that is something we've been talking about actively. And I believe that when we get to the reopening and the principal reports, we're going to have some more information on that more specifically. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, there are some costs in there kind of relative to the prior years, not necessarily last summer, but the summers before that are included in there for the kids. And I do know that Gail had put in an additional, can't remember what she called it, something else for summer anyway, for the summer students. And then Chris has stuff in there for his normal summer school classes that the kids have there. So if there's an additional need that I haven't heard of as of yet. But I will make sure I note that and speak with Mark and the principals about it as well.
from what I'm hearing, we're going to need it.
Our expectation is that summer programming, even when the school year ends, starting in June and July and August, that summer programming will be quite robust for students, for faculty and staff, for professional development trainings. The typical summer school programming will continue. It'll, depending upon where we're at, it might look a little bit different, but we're actively pursuing the model for what it will look like starting with the 21-22 school year.
Okay, so Mark, keep that in mind and we'll chat tomorrow. Any other questions? All right,
All right. Thank you, Karen.
next victim.
Karen, thank you.
You got it.
Next, we have a presentation on the special meeting and vote for March 16th, and I'll hand that over to Bob to give an overview.
Thank you. So Mrs. Brown is going to pull that up on the screen and share. So while we're transitioning, we'll Yep. Okay. Marcy, I'm going to stay here and present. So on March 16th, from noon until 9 p.m., we have a special vote and a special meeting that will conclude following the vote on March 16th. Next slide. There we go. One more. There we go. So as I noted, the vote will be March 16th, 2021 in the high school gymnasium from noon until 9 p.m. COVID protocols will be in play. We will exercise proper social distancing, masks, and temperature screening entering into the gymnasium, entering by the flagpoles to make sure that both our poll workers and our voters are safe. To vote in the special meeting and vote on March 16th, you must be an eligible voter. An eligible voter is defined as someone who is 18 years of age on or before March 16th. You must be a resident of the district for 30 days prior to the election, and you must be a registered voter. To be a registered voter, you must meet one of three criteria. You must be an enrolled Seneca on a list as maintained by the nation clerk, and they will be on site to help verify enrolled Seneca's vote. Or you must be a registered voter as maintained by the list held by the Salamanca School District Clerk. And we will be on site to assist any of those individuals who did district registration. Or you must be a registered voter maintained on a list by Kent County or the New York State Board of Elections. On the ballot, on the special vote on March 16th from noon until 9 p.m. in the high school gymnasium, it is a single proposition to purchase property and the respective leases for those properties, as they are all on the Seneca Nation property and territory. The properties to be acquired by the district with voter approval include a vacant parcel of land immediately adjacent and next to the bus garage on Front Avenue, 635 Front Avenue, 90 Fern Avenue, and a vacant parcel of land adjacent to 413 Front Avenue, which touches Vets Park. The property purchase prices for these four individual lots include $35,000 for the vacant land next to the bus garage, $89,900 for 635 Front Avenue, $75,000 for 90 Fern, and the cost of the annual lease for the vacant land on Front Avenue is approximately $913. Oh, sorry, that's an extra slide. Next one. So the rationale for these purchases with the regard to the properties that are contiguous to the high school main campus at 50 Iroquois Drive is to further expand and enhance our recreational site work and athletic fields on the main campus. This includes additional seating and bleachers, concession areas, team rooms, and additional parking. This project and this vote does not authorize the funds for those types of amenities, just securing the possible space so that we can further expand our main campus site work needs that are in association and related to phase 3.3 of the capital project that was approved approximately 2 years ago. As we were designing that portion of the project that was already voter approved, we realized that seating and the amenities were quite tight and very compacted and crowded. So in an effort to try to secure the most advantageous venue for our athletes and our outdoor events, securing those additional parcels will alleviate a great deal of pressure and crunch on the main campus. Specifically with the parcel next to Vets Park, this is for future expansion of the park, including additional fields, amenities, or parking. So the cost to the voters for the acquisition of these properties is budgeted in the 2021 spending plan. There is no impact on the tax levy, and we are utilizing existing available funds that we already have access to. The simple fact is that this vote, if approved by the community, will not impact the levy. It will not increase, and will utilize existing funds. The vote again is March 16th, 2021 from noon until 9 p.m. in the high school gymnasium. If you have questions, you can call the district office at 945-2400, or you can give us a call or stop by as you see fit at any event that the school may be hosting over the next few days. You can always call me at school at extension 4025. And again, this property acquisition vote and special vote on March 16th comes at no additional tax impact on the levy for the community for the properties we are seeking to acquire. Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
Only that postcards went out to every registered voter, I'm assuming, or eligible voters,
Yes, postcards went out. Yes.
to let them know.
Yeah, and I'd just also like to remind everyone, as board members, we're elected to answer to the community. Our numbers are posted on the website. So if anybody in the community wants to reach out to any board member, all you gotta do is look on the website and our numbers are there.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, next on the agenda is a presentation on school safety and reopening. Is that Mark?
That is Dr. Beeler and the principals.
All right, terrific, thank you. The majority of this will be presented by our school administrators, but I did want to make a note that last Friday, we posted and I'll admit it's a rather lengthy video regarding our need to have open discussions about how school will look when we return to full in-person instruction. And what I'm referring to is we're optimistically anticipating that that will occur in the fall of this year. That video prompted several questions about grade levels, how we progress students, and how we help students who have not made a year of academic progress over the past calendar year. And it's important to note because we're about at the anniversary, the 1-year anniversary of the pause on normal, or whatever normal education used to be. So as we now have students in full remote, in hybrid, some students are here 4 days a week. We're reaching about 1 year of that type of instruction. And we have to come to the realization that that is not the same as having students on campus for a full schedule, 5 days out of the week. So our expectation that learning has occurred at the same rate is not realistic. And at least not for all students, because while some students have actually performed better in this environment, we need to come to the realization that many of our students at this point in time have not. And that's going to require us to have open, honest conversations about what supports we can put in place to help them. I heard a question earlier about summer school. Yes, we are planning for full summer school opportunities for our students at all grade levels. And while I can say we're planning for that, one thing that comes to mind is if we're struggling to get our students to engage during the actual school year, I just anticipate that it's going to be an even bigger struggle to have students engage over the summer. And I think that's just a reality that we need to discuss and figure out how we're going to overcome. So our first public forum on this topic is going to be next Tuesday, March 9th at 6:30. We're figuring out the logistics right now of how we can do that safely so that we can have participation without being hacked or have inappropriate situations occur. So tomorrow, information will be posted to our website and through Facebook about how that forum will occur and some of the logistics. But at this point in time, I'd like to turn it over to our principals who are going to provide an update on where they are in each of their buildings. And Mr. Siebert, if you wouldn't mind starting us off, we'll start with the high school.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you for allowing us to be here tonight to present. And yes, Dr. Beeler and I are challenging the esports team to a Rocket League competition. Not putting a lot of money on us, but it should be fun anyway. I'm always up to be humiliated. So looking forward to that. To answer, I guess, Sue's question as far as the summer school goes, yes, I know that in anticipation for a full robust summer school, I did increase my summer school budget by about 30% from what it was last year. And again, a lot of that is going to depend on whether or not we are in person. I'm not sure we want to go through and spend that kind of money if we're still remote, because those are the kids that we are struggling to get, the ones that are not engaging in the remote sense. So hopefully with the in-person summer school, we would be able to offer a lot more to the students as far as trying to bring their skills back up to where they need to be so they can move on to the next grade level. With that said, over the last month, since I guess it was the last board meeting, the high school has spent a great deal of time in planning and preparation, and I want to thank the teachers for their input and insight and help in the planning. We will start our hybrid programming on next Monday. It'll be very similar to what the other schools initially started with, the 2 days a week for a group of students, and then the other 2 days. So it'll be a Monday, Tuesday for a group of students, and then a Thursday, Friday for another group of students. In looking at our numbers, we had really good numbers of 9th and 10th graders that have elected to join us in the hybrid. The seniors, there's still quite a few openings that we would allow seniors to enter into. And the juniors they're about at max, but we would do what we can obviously to include more. Hopefully, we're looking at making some changes moving forward. This is the first step in what we want to do. The actual schedule, we will have the 8 periods of core classes over a 2-day period. So we'll have 4 on Monday and the other 4 will be on Tuesday. And then with the other group of students, there will be the 4 on Thursday and the other 4 on Friday. What this will end up doing is it will limit the number of transitions throughout the course of the day. And it will provide, I guess, a longer time in classes. So each class will be about 60 minutes in length. And then we're also going to have some built-in time in the middle of the day that we are coining it, but we stole it from the other schools, win time, what I need time for the students, where this is where teachers can actually pull individual students and students can work on the things that they need to work on to get caught up. Like I said, this is step 1. Hopefully, shortly, we will be looking at expanding that as things change, hopefully with some social distancing guidelines, and then we can hopefully bring even more back. I know from the high school standpoint, the teacher standpoint, we can't wait to get the kids back. It's just a whole different energy when the kids are in the building, and that's what's exciting, and that's what we need right now. One of the things that obviously we have to key on is to be clear and consistent with the rules and the expectations. And we've spent a lot of times with the teachers going over those. I did release a video last Friday to our Facebook Live. Actually 2 different videos, one to try and engage the students the rest of the year, and then the other one to discuss a little bit about the hybrid. We did have letters that went out today to all the students and families that have signed up for the hybrid, along with their schedules and some more guidelines. And then we'll have a robocall that's going to be going out tomorrow, just to reinforce that they are getting a letter, that they can view my video if they have questions to call, and we'll get things answered. So we're excited, we're ready to go, and looking forward to getting the kids back. So thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess that's me. I should turn it over to, how about Mrs. Beaver? Let's see. It looks like we need to allow her to be unmuted. I don't know as though I have the ability to do that.
Yep, she just needs to unmute herself.
There we go.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So Seneca Intermediate continues to focus on every student every day. The first semester of school has been a bit of a roller coaster ride for us all. We began to notice a decrease in participation and engagement throughout the month of January. We also noticed an increase in the social emotional concerns and needs of our students at the intermediate school. So we are beyond thankful and glad to be back in person to address some of these concerns and help redirect the pathways of our kiddos. Throughout the month of February, we have worked diligently to reorganize classrooms and transportation to accommodate as many students as possible in our hybrid model. And a large number of our students are back in person 4 days a week. As we move forward in Q3, I will be spending a significant amount of time with our teachers and staff to reflect on some of the things we have learned over the past 6 months and to truly aim to personalize instruction and really hone in on the important standards and the content necessary for student success and changes as we move forward. Our teams have really narrowed down the curriculum to the priority standards and are even more focused with their instruction, and will continue to be more focused for the remainder of the school year. With that said, a reminder that it's extremely important for students to be completing the work that they are assigned. So for our students participating in e-learning, it is critical for these students to log into the Zoom sessions and complete the assignments on time. So we've done and gone above and beyond trying to reach out to families of students that are not engaged. We have our power hours and open office hours and in-person opportunities to help any students complete the work. Basically at this point, not participating is not an option as we move forward. We have a goal of bringing all students that wish to be back in person for in-person learning 4 or hopefully 5 days a week. This is a process we have began to plan for and continue to work through logistically. But bringing back students safely is our #1 priority. So we ask for patience as we roll out this plan slowly. There's many avenues to consider, such as safely social distancing within the classrooms, the transportation needs, and again, we rely heavily on further guidance from the health departments and such. We have 4 months left of school, so we really need to focus on the positives and find ways to maximize learning. It's not over. We can't give up. We need to move forward. So we need all hands on deck to help support our students. It's not too late to make some huge educational gains. We will begin to identify students over the next few months that will benefit from our summer school program. I know Ms. Pavone and Mr. Bartosik and I will be having conversations in the near future on what summer school will look like for this upcoming year. And I just want to reiterate again that we're here to support students and families, and we will go above and beyond to help however we can for everyone to be successful. We need continued engagement and participation moving forward. So thank you.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Mrs. Beaver. I did just want to make a note that As the high school is looking at bringing students back more regularly, we will still always honor and meet the needs of students who choose to be fully remote. We are not at any point in time planning to require students to attend classes on campus. If they wish to attend fully remote, they can. We plan to still continue to offer a wide range of options without requiring a participation at any point on campus. So at this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Pavone at Prospect.
We are having an exciting Dr. Seuss week at Prospect. We've been doing a lot of different days to celebrate Dr. Seuss, and it's been great because all learners can be involved, and we're seeing lots of pictures being posted on Facebook, just celebrating the love of reading. And it's really a social emotional piece of feeling that connection during homeroom huddle, seeing what's going on and sharing that excitement. We did do a parent survey to see if there would be an interest in half days, if that was a way that we could go. And I would say that we got mixed results. Going to something like half days mid-year is really tricky, especially for our working parents. But it was very clear from the survey that people want 4 or 5 days for their kids. So it's really looking at how can we do that and still maintain the 6 feet of social distancing within classrooms and be as safe as possible. I would say we're ready. We want the kids here in the building 4 to 5 days. We just still want to meet the regulations at the same time. And we may have to do some creative brainstorming on how to use different spaces or things like that to be able to meet that desire, or hope that the state changes some of the regulations so that we can have more students in the classrooms. I would say in talking with the teachers, they feel like they could take more students in the classroom. It's just right now we're at the 6 feet capacity and can't fit any more based off of that. We are working on building grade level committees to help develop end of year assessments that will be based on the priority standards, so that in June we can assess students to see what did they master and what do we really need to reteach. That will help us in planning summer school, as well as what does the following year look like for either groups of students or individual students. I will say I'm excited to say Prospect had a 80% attendance rate through the end of second quarter. We do know we have some families that aren't participating much, and we are working closely with them. And we have been partnering with CPS. And I know a lot of people go, CPS isn't a partnership, but we look at it as a partnership to help us work with families to support the needs that they may have to get their child into the school environment, whether it be in person or via Zoom. So we're working with the 20% that hasn't been in attendance as much, but we're very proud of the fact that we've had so many students either virtually attending or coming to the hybrid model. We're continuing to see great growth in guided reading for those that are showing up to their guided reading sessions. And we're really happy to see that that growth continues no matter what model we're using. But we'd be super eager to have everyone back and be able to interact and really make a difference for them academically, face-to-face, as well as socially, emotionally. And, you know, we do have a chunk of time left. So I think, like Nikki said, we can continue to make great gains. And we look forward to doing that and meeting kids' needs.
Terrific. Thank you very much. At this point in time, I think we'll open it up for questions. I would just ask that if there are questions coming from the board, if you would turn your microphone on so that we could hear a little bit better, that would be appreciated.
Does anyone have questions?
I was wondering, do all teachers have their shots?
No, at this point in time, I believe we are in the mid 40s, if that's correct, Mr. Bridenstine, with the latest information.
Yes, the low 40s. I believe the number today is 42 staff members And again, we have approximately all levels of staffing, approximately 317 staff members. I believe it was 42 today that are completely vaccinated or partially vaccinated. And to steal my own thunder, the district was able to partner with Cat County, and I'm not sure all the logistics, but they're hosting a clinic tomorrow at the Allegheny Event Center up at the casino. And we were able at 3 o'clock to secure 30 vaccine dosages for our faculty and staff. So that'll bring us up to 70, which will be approximately 25, a little bit, right around 25%.
I just think it's important that all the staff of our schools get their shot.
I should note, it may be higher than that. There's been some inconsistency about an executive order that was required, then clarified, and then withdrawn, that school districts need to track. And that is now being tracked through the county. I suspect we have a meeting on Friday of this week with the health commissioner for Cat County and Allegheny counties. And I believe that we will be getting some more clarification on how will they be reporting to us, our staff that are vaccinated, if they can do that.
Thank you.
There's one thing I was curious on. If we're reporting, how are we reporting? And is this information still being kept confidential? Meaning, are we just getting numbers of staff, or are you actually getting names? It is a reminder that this is still private medical information and HIPAA does govern.
Actually, in this case, HIPAA is not the controlling factor because the executive order said you have to report this to the school, but then there was a tremendous pushback on that. And then the executive order was rescinded. So we are not maintaining employee confidential medical records. We were just simply making notation through Julie Creed, our nurse manager. And we are not doing that anymore unless the employee self-volunteers it to Julie. Lots of inconsistencies with the order that was unclear and ambiguous. And then lots of questions came up from that. But staff has been very communicative to their administrators that they are getting their vaccine, and we are moving mountains to accommodate them regardless of the time of day so that they can get their vaccine, and rearrange schedules and make sure that the instruction continues at the building level. And staff has been eager to get them, and today's blessing of 30 vaccines was really, really unexpected and lovely to have.
Next question on that. So you said we were secured 30 vaccines. How did you create a list to get those vaccines administered to staff?
We did a simultaneous poll and all call to all staff at the bus garage, all three of the buildings, Seneca, Prospect, the high school. We had 2 employees at St. Pat's. One of them I know was fully vaccinated, and the other individual reached out. And we had about 40 individuals asked to be on the list today. And so I have a wait list of 10, and spoke with the county late this afternoon before the meeting and said if there are any cancellations, we can deploy our staff over there within seconds.
And last follow-up, what vaccine is this one tomorrow?
That I'm not sure of. That I don't know. Moderna? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. As soon as the first one comes back, I can let you know, because it'll be the same lot, I would imagine, but
Other questions? I just have one, and this probably applies to all the building principals, but maybe just Gail, I don't know, just based upon my experience. So I know a lot of states are relaxing the 6-foot social distancing to 3 feet. Hypothetically, if that's the direction that New York State goes, and based upon the poll that parents had saying that a lot of them want to be back 4 or 5 days a week, for those students that remain remote, what does the instruction look like? I'm thinking mainly in terms of the supplemental videos that are up for ELA and math and the specials. Are all of those going to kind of continue, or what do you envision for that?
At this point, our plan is that those would continue. We have talked about potentially having just one e-learning classroom per grade level. We haven't totally committed to that yet because the survey results are relatively new, but that's been one of our discussion points so that the one teacher can focus just on the e-learners and not try to manage 2 environments at one time. We've also talked about kind of keeping the same schedule we're at where specials are done still at home, just to minimize the movement within the building. I'm still not quite comfortable to say, let's have every class go to gym or to art or to things like that, where we're doing a lot of shared materials or a lot of shared spaces. And it's a lot more manageable within a classroom to give mass breaks and to make sure they're within their dividers and things like that. I think the teachers are realizing what a bank of resources they're going to have for future years by what they've created for this year. So my hope is that we'd still be able to continue some of that. But if we do go 5 days, there will be less time to create some of those materials. So there will be, some impact, but we're hoping some of it will still continue.
The other question I had was on meals, so lunch. I think the science is really interesting on the 3 feet versus 6 feet when people are masked. When they're unmasked though, and I know kids aren't affected as much by COVID as adults. So this is just more concern I have for our faculty and staff that would perhaps be in a room with more kiddos with their masks off while they're eating. So what does lunchtime, I guess, look like and breakfast look like if we were to increase our classroom capacity?
So breakfast and lunch at this point are still right within the classrooms. And my plan at this point is to still maintain that. Every child eats within their divider. If they're getting up to move or to dump things, they're very automatic about putting their masks back on. And the adult coming in to the classroom to support during lunch has their mask on and isn't expected to sit near the kids or anything like that. The dividers, though, the kids are really great about staying within those. I know that doesn't solve everything, but it does minimize.
Are we cracking windows or anything? Like, I know our HVAC system is new, which is good because it has a higher capacity for turnover, but I'm just thinking, again, if we increase the amount of kids in a classroom, I'm just concerned about our staff and faculty, who are in that space. So are we opening windows while they're eating, or what? Is there anything that we can do just, I guess, to increase the airflow?
We haven't done that at this point with just the 9 students being in the classroom, but with increasing that, we can look very closely at that. We've also been sure to make sure the kids are getting outside for the 15 minutes, if not going to the gym for the 15 minutes for 1 class at a time or 2 classes at a time, just to be able to move and stretch and get that extra space and kind of get the room aired out a little bit. But definitely not ideal, but I'm still not at the comfort level for a cafeteria setting.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that. I'm concerned about, again, an increase in kids in a small space when they all have their masks off.
We've also talked about, because we use Kagan strategies for instructional numbered heads, saying, all right, you're all a numbered head. Number 1s, it's your 15-minute break for masks. And rotating it that way so that we can kind of make sure all kids are getting breaks, but they aren't getting breaks all at the same time, and things like that. So using things that we already have in play, just differently, to just ensure everyone's safety. I did order mics for the teachers so that they have those with their masks, so that if there are more kids, they're not trying to have to yell through a mask to be heard. So I did just order some more of those as the numbers increase, so that there's a way for them to not have to use their voice and as much to project to the classroom.
Thank you.
I did just want to make a note that there are actually several steps that would need to happen before we got to the point of having additional students in that would currently not be 6 feet. So I believe the state has indicated that it's up to the counties at this point in time, but I don't think many counties across the state have laxed the 6 foot rule. But within the district, right now, our safety and reopening plan indicates specifically that it's 6 feet. So in order to modify that, we would need to evaluate the entire plan, take a look at questions that you have brought up, Dr. McCune, such as opening the windows, which might make sense, but depending upon the type of ventilation systems we have, that might actually be contrapositive and cause an actual decrease in the rate of turnover. So those are all things that we're exploring right now. But you're not going to see all of a sudden tomorrow we're at 3 feet. There will be several steps that occur before that, discussions, and then it will have to go before the district safety committee to ensure that all of those questions are answered and we're comfortable with that. And then likely we will be soliciting board input before a decision is made.
I had a couple comments, questions. Just to touch on what you were just talking about, Mark, this 3 foot, if we're going to a 3 foot, if that's going to be the guidance from county, if that actually happens, I'm just curious about like these plastic barriers we have, because as I sit here with this plastic barrier by me, I don't fit. It honestly, I think it really does nothing for me as I sit here. I could see over in Prospect though, a small child, 5, 6 years old, they probably fit in this perfectly. But what's the plan if it moves to a 3 foot distance for middle school, for high school, where the kids are a little bit bigger?
We can take a look at or larger sized barriers. That's not an issue. I guess what we need to do is take a look at what the recommendations are with regard to barriers. At this point in time, I don't know as though I have seen a hard, fast statement about barriers. Those seem to have been sort of a reaction. And then after that initial reaction, there has been some relatively contradictory science to support that or not support those. I think before we make a transition from our current plan of 6 feet to 3 feet, we need to do several investigative processes to determine what the best practices are. So to answer that with regard to the barriers, I don't know as though we have a plan at this point in time. I don't know if it's a bigger barrier, if that would even make a difference. So we need to investigate where we are with the barriers themselves, as well as several of the other factors that are going to eventually come to a point. But this is all relatively new information. And while we're anxious to get students back here that are willing to come back, we've said that before, we're not going to place students or staff in a position where it's unsafe. So we're going to make sure that we do this correctly. And there are a lot of questions, admittedly, that I'll be honest with you, we don't have answers for right now.
Okay. Yeah, just a comment on that too. And Bob already mentioned we have approximately 42 staff members who received a vaccine. Out of that 42, I'd be willing to guess some are admin, some are non-teaching staff. So really that number is even less when you consider the actual teachers who have kids in the classroom. So if we're looking at our entire district as far as having a vaccine or being protected in some way, shape or form, relatively low numbers. So that comes into consideration. But honestly, I'm looking forward to the public forum next week. When you find out exactly how we're doing it, absolutely let us know. I would like to be in attendance.
Perfect. And I anticipate several of those. Just logistically, I think there will be input, a lot of input, and that's what we're looking for. But I anticipate that over the next several weeks, we'll host several of those so that people have an opportunity to share their thoughts.
Oh, and one more. I just wanted to back up to Meg's point. As far as what's going to happen with the virtual learners. So if we're going back to having more kids in the class, moving up into 4 or 5 days or however we do it, I really support that idea that Gail mentioned, that we're going to have teachers who are dedicated strictly to the e-learning. I agree that you can't have a teacher having dual attention, trying to teach virtually and in person at the same time. I think we tried that, and I think we realized that it really didn't work that well. So I'd be very supportive of having teachers in all the buildings. With Gail, with Nikki, with Chris, just so that, we have that ability in each building.
I agree, and I thank you for that input. I anticipate that some form of virtual learning will occur even post-pandemic. We've seen that some students excel in that environment. So we will, I anticipate, have that available to students in one form or another. And I mentioned that that may look like part-time on campus, part-time off campus. We need to recognize that our students learn in a variety of different ways, and that we are at a different point now than we were a year ago, and that some students do exceptionally well with virtual instruction. So we will ensure that whatever it takes, the students who are currently virtual will keep the resources that they have, and we will meet their needs. And then after the pandemic, I still anticipate that we'll have that opportunity for some students.
I think that's an area of growth for us as well, because we have students in district that are homeschooled right now, that because now we are so poised with our virtual learning, I mean, that might be an opportunity to capture some of those students back in the district. So, I mean, COVID aside, I think it's something we need to look at in terms of reaching out to some of those families who currently don't have their children in district.
Okay, and then just my last point I wanted to make is moving forward, no matter what plans we do or what plans we make or how we move forward, one of the things that's still consistent is masks. Making sure that we're still emphasizing the mask wearing in school, in sports, and whatever we're doing. Mask wearing right now under all guidance is not going away. So I just want to make sure that we still are emphasizing that and enforcing it.
Thank you.
If I can just jump in here, I think one of the things that we're seeing across the region and the state is that we are anticipating adjustment to the original directives from the state, the Department of Health, and then trickling through the county. That does seem to be the consistent model, that the state is pushing a lot of these decisions into the county level. And I just want to give our County Health Department a shout out, because they are just besieged with requests and people looking for vaccines. And I think part of the reason why in Cat County, the number immunized is lower is just simply the availability of the vaccine. I know from talking with staff that we've had staff that have driven or attempted to drive all over the state and into Pennsylvania to get a vaccine. So it's not a lack, generally speaking, of staff's willingness or desire to be vaccinated. It's just simply, like so many things in rural Cattaraugus County in the southern tier, it's access to those things that in other counties are just taken for granted. There's not a huge pop-up distribution site, although we're thankful for the event tomorrow at the casino, which hopefully will be the first of many more coming forward to vaccinate the staff. And as those social distance requirements do become adjusted from the state to the county and then from the county to the district, I think Mark's point is well taken. We've been cautious and we've been careful, and we've tried to keep strictly to our safety, wellness, and our instructional integrity. And there's a lot more at stake here. So going a little slower and getting it right, I think, gets us further faster than rushing. And as we've said today, administratively in some circles with some of our staff, different districts have different footprints and different class size configurations and different populations of total number of students. And they do have a little bit more flexibility. So there's some differences between District A and District B, but I think what separates us is that we've learned in the 12 months since this started last March 16th, is that we've listened to our faculty, we've listened to our parents, and we've not been shy about talking publicly about the things that we're comfortable with and the things that make us uncomfortable. And I think that's been a strength throughout this process. That may not have always been the case, and it certainly isn't the case in every single district that I've come in contact with during this unprecedented pandemic time. So we've got much to be proud of. And as things unfold over the next week to 10 days to 2 weeks to month, we will take it one step at a time and then make the decisions that work best for Salamanca and our families, our staff, and the community.
In terms of vaccine availability, do we have folks kind of in-house that are helping people navigate the variety of ways that one can sign up for, because the websites are all different, right? Sometimes pharmacies have them, sometimes they don't. Some of the county websites might show up as being full, but if you actually click on the full event, it'll pop up with cancellation. So do we have communication going out to employees as to how to navigate those?
I think organically, the staff has been very communicative to other staff members if they've come across something to say, hey, this is in your area. And I know I spoke with staff late last week that there was a pop-up at the Syracuse Fairgrounds, and before I could even finish reading it, there were some emails back and forth and chatter to every other, colleagues in the district or in the building or in that department. So there's a lot that's happening. So we haven't, I won't tell you that we have someone manning the vaccine sites because they keep changing, but I know that we're looking at them and sharing that information as often as we can with the faculty and staff.
I would just encourage to maybe if this hasn't been done, like an email go out that there's people that are having a difficult time, a point of contact. Because I know for some people are very internet savvy and are very good at doing this and can do it from a mobile device. Other people are barely online and probably need some assistance in that.
Yeah. And today's vaccine pop-up with 30 doses came at about 20 after 2, I think. And I needed to get a list of the county immediately or they were giving the shots away. So we pounced on that. And I guess perhaps it might be advantageous to canvass the staff tomorrow. If you're interested, if a pop-up comes up, because the county has been very communicative to school districts because they realize, and based on what occurred today on the news media about the urgency to get pre-K-12 teachers vaccinated from Washington, which is welcomed news. I think that push will even be more noticeable.
I'm over 65. Anyone that is a senior citizen is more apt to get a shot before the rest of us. And I know Ellicottville called me today and said that they had some vacancy if I needed a shot. I told them no, I had already got my first one.
Sue, can you unmute your mic?
You want to hear me?
We can now.
Anyway, Ellicottville Pharmacy will be doing shots.
That's good to know.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you to all of our principals and to Mark. We'll move on to communications. I have not been doing my usual VP duty of manning Facebook as well. So you have, okay. So Janet and Bob, is there been any comments or questions?
There was one parental question on there about related services. And so we will be reaching out to the parents regarding physical therapy services and making sure that everything, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed for the services. So I thank the parent for bringing that to our attention. And other than that, there were some comments congratulating and thanking Nolan and the students and the administrators for the eSport program launch and wishing them success.
Was there anyone else who had reached out in another way? Nope. Okay. So we'll move on to our central office message. Hand that over to Karen or Mark. Comments? You're good. Karen's good. Mark?
Yes, I did have a, just actually, let's find it here. I just wanted to provide a brief update and a couple thank yous. As the board is aware, the district began negotiations with the Salamanca Teachers Association at the end of January. I am very pleased to report that as of last week, we have resolved all of the proposals that were put forth by both sides, and we're waiting on the final written document. So that's the contract with all of the changes, as well as one of the requests from both the teachers as well as the district is a concise document that includes the over 39 MOAs that have occurred over the past several years. So we have a full workday session planned for next week. We anticipate having the document finalized. And while we're several steps away from full adoption, we are well ahead of schedule. And I just wanted to share that information and thank the STA team as well as the district team. They have worked exceptionally well together, and we're anticipating having an opportunity, hopefully at the end of this month, to bring something to the board. I also would like to acknowledge the work of two individuals who really are consistently working behind the scenes to keep our school operating effectively and safely. One is Marcy Brown, our interim technology director. Along with her team, she has been doing an absolutely outstanding job at a time when our operations are really completely dependent upon technology. She has made some significant improvements. Most noticeable is the new help desk that has drastically improved the ability of our district to help students and staff. I also want to acknowledge the work of Ray Haley, our safety and security officer. He has been exceptionally busy this past year to ensuring our compliance, monitoring the ever-changing regulations, and serves as a conduit to the County Health Department. I can tell you that he has made relationships there that really allow and permit the district to have the latest and greatest information. He can get in touch with people there within a matter of minutes, and they can problem solve things. And that has really helped us be responsive to situations that have occurred in the district. And without both of these individuals and the teams that they lead, we would not be functioning as effectively and safely as we are today. So I just want to acknowledge them and thank them.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to comments from the board, and I'll start with Brad.
I just wanted to go back to the esports because I can say for sure that I was a little bit skeptical when Justin Shep first presented on it, but after the presentation today, I can say that I'm extremely impressed and grateful that our students have the opportunity to participate in this. So thank you and great job to everybody involved.
Thank you.
That's it.
Sue, don't forget your mic.
I would like to thank our teachers and our students and the staff. This has got to be so hard for everyone. And I really feel that everyone is doing their best, and hopefully the kids will come out of it ahead. And next year, they won't have lost too much this year.
Dale?
I'd like to say I'm glad we could meet in person once again. Nice to see everybody's face live instead of on the screen. And I don't have to deal with a 5-second lag time between my responses. And I don't have to do the thumbs up at the end of every vote. So thank you very much. Also, Sue, yes, ditto on all what you said. I also want to thank the esports team and Nolan for their great presentation today. I think it's going to be a very popular thing for kids to do here at Salamanca. And I can see it opening up different career pathways in their minds. Not only the gaming, but the marketing, the on the IT side, the programming, the network management, things like that students typically don't think of when they look at careers. And Mark and Chris, I have to say, I have played Rocket League before with my 8-year-old granddaughter. She kicks my butt every time. So if you extrapolate that skill level from an 8-year-old to a high school student, you guys are in a world of hurt, I think. So with that being said, I would I'd like to say, the esports thing I think is going to be a great thing for kids. Thank you very much.
You got recruited since Dale's on the team.
Skill level, you don't want me.
Carrie?
I second that. Dale should be on the team. I wanted to say thank you too. Bob, Mark, Karen, Chris, Lynn, Nikki, Gail, Lloyd, all of you guys, everybody else in this, all the staff, Ray. No matter what decisions are made, you're never going to be right. It's a tough decision in this pandemic world. It's tough choices. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of struggle. And no matter what happens, you're never going to please everybody. Somebody's always going to tell you you're wrong. There's always a better way to do it. But regardless of what happens, I just wanted to say thank you all. You guys have done an awesome job and put a lot of time and effort into doing what's right for our community, you know, our students, our staff. So I just, again, thank you. On the other side note, I'm excited about some of the progress we're making. You know, I pay attention to the numbers. I see the numbers are trending lower and lower. Every week we're getting better and better. And it's a little glimmer of hope that things are going to be back to normal. I'm throwing up air quotes here. Normal at some point, whatever normal may be, you know. So again, thanks. That's all I had.
Everyone's had wonderful things to say, and I agree with everything that has been said. Thank you for all the presentations. They were very interesting. And I sat in on negotiations. I just want to compliment everyone on how smooth they were and calm. And they just did a great job on both sides. And it is good to be back and see everybody.
Thank you. Oh, well, echo what everyone has said. I do want to thank the administrators and faculty and staff, because I agree with what Carrie said. I think our reopening plan in comparison to other districts' reopening plans has been really strong. We've done a really good job with that. We haven't been a super spreader, which is fantastic. And that just takes so much effort from all of you. So thank you for that. I'm glad that, Brad, you said that you were skeptical of esports, because I was too, and it was my husband who presented that. So I don't play video games. So when he had first, he was giving his presentation, he was talking, I was like, yeah, whatever. But I will say that I've seen this even with my own child. She's playing Minecraft now, and she was having a really hard time with reading. She's reading at a higher level, but just getting things, quote, wrong. She's having the negative reactions to that. But losing at Minecraft has really helped her, kind of look to see, building of skills. And it's okay if you don't always, quote, win. So I think, in addition to the skills that you mentioned, Dale, that's embedded in esports, I think, for younger kids too, there's something to be said for video games. So, take note, parents, if you're skeptical like me, there is a lot of value there. I do want to just emphasize, as we've, done every meeting, that, while numbers are improving and vaccination rates are improving for COVID, it's still there. It's still very real. If you go and look, and this is easily searchable, you can see the deaths by month. We are much higher this month than we were in March, of last year. Very, very high. There's still a lot of people being affected by this. Education is not immune to it. For those of you who read local papers, St. Bonaventure just lost their president to COVID complications, just a couple of days ago. And that's really close to home. So just, remain vigilant, please wear masks, maintain social distancing. Even if you're vaccinated, it's not clear yet in terms of the science of whether or not you can transmit that to other people. So, need to keep wearing these things, really important. And that's all I have. Any comments from you, Bob?
Can I take T-Ray's turn?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, Barb did remind me of one thing. I did want to thank everybody on the negotiation team for the STA contract. I was on the board the last time, and it was, I don't even know the right word I want
It
to
was
use,
really
but
tough.
It was, yeah.
There was a lot of work that needed to be done, and this group has been outstanding.
Yeah. Thanks,
So
Bob.
kudos to them.
It definitely took longer than it should have the last time. And I'm so happy this time that it's been a smoother process and that you guys have actually come to, I guess, a conclusion, it sounds like. Honestly, I will say that's stress that people don't need right now, especially with our teachers and considering what's going on during this pandemic. Definitely stress they don't need. And thank you, Mark. Thank you, Barb. I'm not sure who else was on the negotiating team, but, good job, you guys. And also to Lacey and whoever was on her team. I'm not sure again who's on the team, but good job, you guys. And it is appreciated, and we do appreciate all of you. Thank you.
So, Mark, can I just ask you, and while the board is here, we had talked about being prepared for a special board meeting to ratify the contract. Is that still looking to be the end of March?
Yes, what we are asking is that we plan a special board meeting at the end of March, perhaps that last Tuesday. That'll actually put a little more pressure on us to get all of the i's dotted and the t's crossed in the next week or two. At that meeting, what we would like to do is acknowledge, sort of have a celebration. There's some business that needs to get done with regard to property maybe. But in addition to that, we would like to acknowledge the retirees. And then we anticipate the opportunity to ratify and approve the contract. So if you could take a look at the possibility of having a special meeting at the end of the month, that will also set a target for us to get this wrapped up by then.
So we had talked possibly for the board members and the administrators, perhaps the 29th. That is possible. The 23rd might be a little bit more aggressive for the negotiating team, but the 23rd or the 29th is second and the last Tuesday of the month. So the 30th, I'm sorry. Thank you, Karen. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I do have a couple of things, and it kind of occurred to me that as we're talking about successes, there's a lot of success that's happening behind the scenes now that really is impactful, but not necessarily today, more June, July, August, and September. And so I do want to give a shout out to Penny Beatty in the Professional Development Office, who's actively pursuing the robust summer staff development schedule for our faculty and staff and our trainings. There is a lot of work that goes into that to get the hundreds and hundreds of hours that are available to individual employees during the course of the summer to get ready for September. I do want to thank Kristen Dudek and Jerry Parisi in the Pupil Services Office, because the number of enrollments that we're getting for pre-K programs and kindergarten continues to be quite active, and we're still registering students now for this year who are moving into the district. So that work that goes on behind the scenes is really instrumental in making sure that when this school year ends, we flip the switch in the next moment, we're ready for the 21-22 school year. And a lot of effort goes into that. And I do also want to thank Janet, our district clerk. Running board meetings is challenging enough, particularly when we're doing large agendas like tonight, but also simultaneously prepping for the March 16th vote for the properties, and then turning right around for the May 18th, is it May 18th? Yes, for the regular budget vote for the spending plan and the referendums for the 21-22 school year. So I do want to thank those folks for moving mountains while the rest of us are working really hard to get through today's work. They're laying the groundwork for what's next. I do also want to thank, and I'm going to leave some out, so I'm just going to say the student support and advocacy group at the high school, a group of students that have formed after we started the equity interviews last summer. They liked the fact that we were heading in that equity, diversity, inclusion. And later on tonight on the agenda is our first draft of a Salamanca equity policy. And part of that has come from the work that Justin Schapp has done with our Salamanca student advocacy group. But they are currently working on a project that's very passionate to them. The administrators and I met today, Mrs. Beaver and Mr. Siebert and I met to talk about the importance of that issue for the students. And there are some logistical issues with what they're being passionate about, and we want to encourage that. And that really is part of the reason why in the budget presentation, Karen mentioned and Mr. John mentioned that, there's money in there for a student equity summit. And that loosely is going to look like a partnership with Education Elements, perhaps another district or two, because I think if we broaden the circle out a little bit more, we can get some more ideas and networks going with kids. But 5 to 6 or 7 or 8 individual training sessions with kids, teaching them how to be advocates for those things that they're passionate about. Not just grabbing a microphone and shouting or howling at the moon and barking at the waves, but really learning how to advocate, learning how to be passionate, and learning how to be persuasive to get that ball rolling. So we're very excited about that work coming with this Salamanca Student Advocacy Group and our ongoing partnership with Education Elements. Next, week after next is the Federal Impact Aid Conference at NAFIS in DC. It's virtual, but there's quite a robust calendar of events for those 3 days of trainings and meetings. And it culminates typically in Washington with a day on Capitol Hill. Well, Salamanca can't just do that. So we actually have approximately 3 days of advocacy on Capitol Hill in Washington. I want to thank Justin for helping to arrange some of these meetings. And this is a list of the elected officials in Washington that Salamanca has facilitated in part due to Justin's extensive contacts. My role as a New York State Impact Aid chairperson for all of New York State. But these are some of the folks that we're meeting with, and it's not complete yet. We still have a few phone calls to connect and set the appointments. Representative Tonko, Representative Delgado, Representative Higgins, Representative Jacobs, Representative Katko, Representative Morell, Representative Torres, Representative Maloney, Representative Ocasio-Cortez, Representative Velasquez, Senator Gillibrand, and we are still waiting for confirmation for Senator Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader. There may be a few others that we add on to that, and there will be other districts that will piggyback with us so that we can have and tell a story about New York State and Impact Aid. So there's lots of work going on in that regard. Is there still time if board members want to register? You can register for some or part of all of that. And if you're interested in being part of those lobbying meetings, just let me know and we'll shoot you the Zoom link. They're all virtual.
You got Schumer too.
We do have Schumer.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. This was an old, all right. Awesome. So we do have Senator Schumer. So awesome. And those lobbying meetings will be on March 17th, 18th, and 19th. So we're looking forward to some really great conversations. It varies. It varies depending upon, sometimes the elected officials will pop in if their schedule allows. And we have met with the actual congressperson or senator before, and all of these individuals are obviously not our representatives. But there are districts in New York State that are impacted federally, whether it's Indian lands, federal property, or military. So in that NAFIS community of learners from across New York State, we will take those meetings. Sometimes it is with the staffer though, but as we say in lobbying, take the meeting with the person who's getting coffee today, because next week they could be the chief of staff. So we take all of those meetings.
When we were in Washington, 2 years ago, the Postal Service was there lobbying at the same time. And I got to know a handful of the folks that were there. And they said the meetings with the staffers are oftentimes far more productive than actually meeting with so that's.
In a number of these individuals and staffers and in the offices, we have longstanding relationships because, as we know, when we do lobbying, you call them when you don't need something, because when you need them, like 2 years ago or last year when we had the Impact Aid application issue, we moved mountains quickly, not just for Salamanca, but the other districts in New York State that were struggling with some responsiveness from other federal agencies that we needed to have that to sign off. So we're investing in those relationships now. I plan on inviting most of these individuals, whether I doubt that they'll all come, but we'll invite our elected officials in the Western New York contingent to May 4th. May the 4th be with you, the grand opening ribbon cutting at Vets Park. So may the 4th be with you. We'll have a Star Wars theme. Perhaps we'll get the Millennium Falcon to fly over Vets Park, but we did set that date last week. And we'll be continuing to have weekly meetings talking about what that will look like on May 4th. And I'm told the first pitch for the baseball field will be May 14th at a Salamanca Veterans Cup, an inaugural tournament with a number, I think 7 or 8 local teams over a 2 or 3 day period. First pitch will be May 14th. That is the first home contest for Salamanca Vets Park baseball. I think that's it. We're still in conversations about who was going to throw out the first pitch. So there have been a few people that have asked. So we've got to talk. We may have some, I'm not a baseball guy, so we'll talk about that with the athletic kids.
Not that I want to speak there, but when we do start talking about naming things after people or something like that, I don't want Sam Philippo to be forgotten. I don't know if you guys, anybody here remember Sam Philippo? But he was the godfather of football in Salamanca. And if it wasn't for him, I don't think we would have had the football team we had in the 60s. Remember that?
Yeah.
They got ordered.
All right. I think that's all I have, but thank you. And lots more to come on the grand opening.
All right. So next on the agenda, this is the approval of the consent agenda. So I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items. Motion by Barb, second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. We don't have any old business, so we'll move on to new business. The first thing we have is Teresa's favorite, which is the capital project change orders. And this is the day she should have been here because there's only one thing on here. And all right. So we need a motion to approve the change orders.
Motion.
Oh, okay. Motion by Sue, seconded by Carrie. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. Next, we have the creation of positions. So, and I'll have you talk about some of these just briefly after we motion them, I guess.
Sure.
So I need a motion to approve the creation of the positions listed. Motion by Dale, second by Brad.
So I'll start and then I'll toss it to Mark because Mark is working with Mr. Haley on this, but the additional part-time people is to cover additional spaces and venues that we will have opening as spring sports or winter 2 sports or fall 2 sports. I'm not quite sure what it's totally called now. As we have additional areas of the school coming online and to have additional coverage of the security guards. Mark, anything else to add with that?
It's important to note that these are part-time and we are not required to provide them with 19 hours. So what's happening here is we are looking for excellent individuals who can serve as safety and security officers, not hard charging, head pounding individuals. These are professionals, many of which have other professions and jobs or are current law enforcement or corrections officers. Because of that, the positions are part-time. Sometimes they may work 5 hours a week, sometimes they may have to go 2 weeks without work. We manage the cost because we manage the hours that are provided. So it looks like we have an awful lot of security officers, but we manage that cost by the hours that are provided. So we are asking for 5 additional, I believe it's 5 additional part-time security officers. That they are assisting us with not just the building security and safety, but as Vets Park comes online, we have other activities outside. They are also helping to coordinate that as well, particularly with the safety requirements that COVID has put in place for us.
Any questions or comments? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. Next, we have the special education extended school year, which is extending the school year by the dates of July 5th, 2021 through August 13th, 2021. I need a motion to approve the special education school year. Motion by Barb.
Second.
Second by, I'll give it to Carrie this time. Just in fairness. Any discussion?
Can I just make a note here? It just occurred to me. We've loaded, and you'll see in the board member, your drafts where it says goals, each one of those sections links to our strategic plan and one of our goals, whether it's a district, Seneca, Prospect, or high school goal, that links specifically to one of the 6 mindsets that we've established with our strategic plan. This is the first time we've tried to load them up, and we've had some just making sure we're getting it right. So we're just kind of tagging the work that we're doing through resolutions as to what that's done with one of our respective strategic plan goals. So just in case you were wondering what that was about.
Thank you. Any other discussion, questions or comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carried. Next, we have a memorandum of agreement with St. Bonaventure University for field placements for School of Education students. I need a motion to approve the MOA with St. Bonaventure. Motion by Brad,
Second.
second by Carrie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carried. Then we have, next item on the agenda is donations to STEAM. So there's 2 donations here. One is a grant from the New York Agricultural Education Outreach at Cornell. The other one is a donation of aluminum. I always want to say that the British way, which is aluminium, by the way. I can't even say it correctly now because apparently I'm British today. Material worth $265 and a pallet from Horschel Brothers Precision in Springfield for the robotics students. I need a motion to approve the donations. Motion by Dale. Second by Brad. Any discussion? Other than how to pronounce that term?
Or
The
spell
metal,
it.
yes. No. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carried. Item F is the real property tax law section 487, which is, I'm going to have you talk about this, Bob, because this was interesting to me. So it's just essentially that there won't be.
I'm going to actually have Karen talk
You have
about
Karen
it.
talk about it. Okay, Karen, good. Exemption from school taxation for a variety of what seems like alternative energy sources. So I need a motion to approve this resolution. Motion by Sue.
Second.
Second by Carrie. Karen.
Sometime in the past, the district had approved a similar resolution, and there have been some slight changes in the things for solar and other sources of energy. So the county reached out to us a couple of weeks ago and requested that we renew if we were interested in renewing the exemption, or to just basically opt out. So we're renewing our motion and eliminating that tax exemption.
All right. Any questions, comments?
Say that again.
Oh,
So,
geez, that's
the-
asking a lot.
Yeah. So from my understanding is the exemption is they still have to pay taxes on the structures or the property they're improving.
Yep.
And the exemption is, our exemption is we're not allowing them to not pay taxes, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yep. I don't know where it came from. Just all of a sudden they brought it up. I don't know if something happened that somebody said, we used to have this, because they sent it to every single district. And I'm assuming other municipalities as well.
I would guess that there's a pretty large growing solar footprint in parts of Allegheny County, and this may be kind of creeping this way as a more current topic for people to be worried about. I don't recall seeing this anytime recently that it's been action. So this may be something on the books, but in consulting with the powers to be that kind of advise us in these areas, it's something that we could always look at if there was something. We certainly want to stand in the way of major economic development, but it's really not an issue at this point in time. So it's a continuation of what we've been doing. And the board has a right to change that at any moment.
That was my question. I just wanted to make sure if there was,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't foresee that happening, but just, let's say someone was going to come in and employ a whole bunch of people, from our district and something, I don't know what, but
if
yeah.
people are out there watching in Zoom land, on Facebook Live land, and they're interested in bringing large industry of this type into our district, we will gladly have a conversation with you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carried. Next, we have item G, which is the Cattaraugus County Board of Elections polling place agreement. That's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll take a motion on that. Motion by Barb. Second by Brad. Any discussion?
Well, I have, for your information, we have half of the gym. Allow anyone else to have another gym. If you had to sit there 12 hours looking at the basketball, bouncing, you wouldn't like it.
I believe June 22nd shouldn't be an issue because the students should be done. I believe the tentative draft calendar for November 2nd is that will be a non-attendance day. So that has come up before, but when they have the primaries or the election days and students are in session, the rest of the gym becomes an instructional space. So we do.
But then at night, you know,
Yeah.
when they have
Yeah.
their boys in there playing basketball, it goes on. So that's wonderful, but they're not gonna have to do that.
That's the tentative plan with the calendar.
Other questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. Next, we have item H, which is to declare surplus on a microscope. So I need a motion to approve the item surplus. Motion by Dale. Second by Brad. Any discussion? All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. Item I, which is the special meeting and vote announcement. I'm just noting that there's a shift from it being held in the multipurpose room to being held in the high school gymnasium on March 16th, 2021 from noon till 9 p.m. I need a motion to approve the resolution.
Motion.
Motion by Carrie. Second by Dale. Any discussion?
Yeah, just to clarify, in case anyone asks why the change, when we originally set the vote, the high school gym was a hub for some 75 or 80 plus students that were in there. And now that we've been able to work with the high school staff and administration, we moved those students into more grade level hubs. So that opens up the gym, and we were concerned about spacing in the multipurpose room if we have a large voter turnout. So that's why the shift to the gym.
Is there discussion or comments?
When do they vote?
March 16th from noon till 9 p.m.
And is there any discussion here that the inspectors are there 1/2 hour before the polls open, or an hour before the polls are open? They come in an hour before. They come in at 11 o'clock, so it runs usually at 12. Okay. It's not on, but I just want to make sure that they're coming in early for it. They always do, yeah. 11 o'clock is the time.
Other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. We have item J, which is the annual election budget vote announcement. I'm just basically stating that Teresa Ray will be the election chairperson, or me if she's not there, or any of the other board members if for some reason the two of us aren't there. And then the inspector of election and a couple of other folks there. So I need a motion to approve this resolution. Motion by Sue. Second by Dale. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. Next, we have our personnel consent agenda. And again, we're going to vote on the consent agenda first, and then we'll have the introduction of any newly appointed staff who are in attendance or. Okay, so you can see the listing of a whole bunch of folks, which I'm not going to read off one by one. So we need a motion to approve the personnel consent agenda as listed in item 8A. Motion by Brad.
Second.
Second by Carrie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm going to abstain. Not because they're all great, but I was reading through this and apparently one of my very good friends is on here and I like to separate that out. So, okay, so motion carried. And we'll have the introduction.
I do not believe there are any individuals on the Facebook Live that are being appointed, but I did see some of the folks were on the Facebook Live and had perhaps made some comments. I do want to recognize Mr. Jerry Musial, who is transitioning from a high school social studies teacher to be one of our Native American instructional coaches. I've known Jerry for my entire time here. He is an articulate, passionate, committed educator that has really become one of the moving and influential individuals in helping us to move our Indigenous program together. He has a wonderful partnership and relationship with our language teachers, our Seneca language teachers, and he knows a great deal about this. And at a later board meeting, we'll be filling his social studies position for the remainder of the year and then evaluating that position based on student enrollment. I do want to thank Penny Beatty and Gail Pavone, who are on the Zoom call, for being administrative mentors. And we have had some shuffling around with Mr. Miller's departure just a few months ago. So that process took a little bit. And I'm not sure if there was anybody else I missed. If the principal saw anyone that was on that I missed, I'll turn it over to them, but I think that's everybody.
All right. Last, we have just the board information reports and discussion. You'll see a variety of minutes on here. Also, there's just for board members, if you didn't get a chance to look, there's a first reading of a couple of different policies, the gender neutral single occupancy bathrooms, use of service animals, and then also the equity, inclusivity, and diversity in education policy statements. And then our upcoming events. So we have obviously the vote on March 16th. So please call people you know who are in district to make sure that they come out to vote.
And if anyone needs an absentee ballot due to health reasons, travel out of the area, illness, or COVID concerns, you can still request a ballot through the district clerk.
With that, if there's no other questions or comments.
Yeah, well, I had one.
You have one? Okay.
Bob, can you just give a quick explanation of the Maestro decision?
Yes, that is the small city schools litigation against New York State for failing to properly fund the constitutional requirement for a fair, appropriate education in New York State to small city school district residents. Jamestown is a district that's been actively in this litigation that has been absolutely decimated by the lack of fair, equitable funding for small city school districts. The lawsuit has been ongoing for approximately 12, perhaps maybe 13 years, back to the mid 2000s, early 2000s. And the litigation and the update is that the original case was ruled in favor of the state that they didn't have to provide an appropriate equitable education. The small cities organization appealed that. It went to an appellate judge, the three panel appellate judge, who said to the judge, presiding judge, you got it pretty much all wrong and we're remanding it back to you. They reheard significant portions of that litigation. The exact same judge that ruled on the first case ruled the exact same way. Then the small city schools appealed it again, and it's now at New York State Supreme Court. And after much haranguing and legal maneuvering on the part of the state, this was the final arguments before the appellate division of the Supreme Court. And we are anticipating a decision probably in June, which could be substantially advantageous for small city school districts, including the 8 school districts that are in the original Maisto litigation. Salamanca has historically provided friends of the court and friends of the litigation benevolences to aid the litigation, because what helps one small city school district helps others. The one thing that I would note with the litigation is that typically there's a small size of documents that can go in. It's approximately 30 pages. And the appellate judge allowed the small city schools to expand that by a factor of almost 6 to some 200 pages, because the appellate judge indicated that each school district should have its day in court, not 7 districts mashed into one, which the original decision seemed to suggest that small city school districts and the right to a fair, appropriate education that demonstrates success to students is a constitutional right in New York State. So this is could potentially be a landmark decision in education in New York State that would rival the campaign for fiscal equity for small city schools. So fingers crossed for those districts and all the other 49 of 57 school districts that are small cities, of which we are one.
Thanks, Bob.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Now I'll need a motion to go into executive session to discuss property. Motion by Barb,
Second.
second by Carrie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carried.
We'll have Mark and Karen stick around, but we do not anticipate returning for action.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I'm gonna, we'll take the run. Yes.